what actually happened to Iggy Azalea. Believe it or not, there was once a time when Iggy Azalea was unstoppable, literally landing the #1 rap song of 2014. However, just as quick as she exploded, the rising star was off the charts even faster. So, why did the internet suddenly turn against Iggy Azalea?
What was the lowest point for you?
That's tough because it was so many times that it was like, that's the lowest. And then it was like, no, we're going a little lower. And I just wanted to quit life, the whole thing, really. I was in a battle zone, man. I was stepping on landmines left and right.
10 years ago, nobody could have predicted the dramatic path that Iggy's career would go down. But, as we're about to see, behind her disappearance is actually a much deeper story than meets the eye.
While I was pregnant, this man didn't even come to see his son be born. He went to Philly to play the PlayStation with little Uzi. Shit is so whack. And even whacker is all the straight men trying to defend this motherfucker. It's so lame, but I'm not surprised. And I don't give a f. If I really gave a f, I wouldn't have said what I said. I wouldn't be on here saying what I said. I have had a motherfucking enough.
Whether you think of her as a multi-platinum selling rapper, the mother of Playboi Carti's 6-year-old son named Onyx, or even the alleged crypto scammer that we'll get into later on, one thing is for sure, Iggy Azalea is still incredibly famous. For someone who hasn't released a new album in over 5 years and actually claims to be retired, if she isn't even a rapper anymore, then what does Iggy Azalea actually do? Is she simply just Neon's streaming sidekick now?
Dude, I have to be honest with you. I think she has a crush on you or something,
Did you
bro.
guys-
Iggy, I love you.
Did you guys?
No, it's not like you and Lana. No, it's different. Me and Iggy are business partners. She's a very smart woman.
Long before she ever linked up with Neon though, and prior to her relationship burning down in flames with Playboi Carti, the truth is, Iggy Azalea was considered one of the most promising new artists in hip-hop. And unlike most rappers, her journey began thousands of miles outside the US. Born in Sydney, Australia, and raised in a house that her father had hand-built from mud bricks, the reason why Iggy Azalea wanted to even be a rapper in the first place was simple. Tupac. I was sickly obsessed, she said of her biggest influence, almost like someone had snapped a one-wish willow on her. I had every picture of Tupac ever printed on my wall. However, with that said, there was still one obvious problem.
I had always wanted to go to America. I really had a big interest in rap music, being a rapper or being an engineer and working in a music studio. I wanted to be in the music industry somehow.
Considering the hip-hop scene in Australia was very weak at the time, and remember this was 2006, thus, after lying to her parents and saying it was only a vacation, at 16 years old, Iggy Azalea moved across the globe to Miami all by herself and never looked back.
Now, you leave at 16.
Yeah.
Who do you stay with when you
Where do
touch
you
down?
go?
You don't go stay with anyone. You go.
So you didn't have family out?
No, I didn't have
Like,
anyone.
no family.
Yeah, no, I had no one.
Working all sorts of random jobs to pay the bills, one random night, some guys over at Interscope Records happened to stumble upon her music on YouTube. And, obviously liking what they saw, it was when Iggy moved to Los Angeles when everything changed. With an alias pieced together by stealing Iggy from her childhood dog's name, and then Azalea, which was the street she grew up, in 2011 arrived Iggy Azalea's debut mixtape. But along with her music, moving to LA would also provide Iggy another major boost in social status. In 2012, it was confirmed that Iggy Azalea and rapper A$AP Rocky had entered into a new romantic relationship. To ink their bond further, Iggy would even tattoo A$AP's Long Live A$AP album name right here on her fingers. However, unlike tattoos, relationships don't always last forever. And to not much surprise, less than 6 months later, the pair had split their separate ways, and fans would notice Iggy went and added this after the breakup, a large black X over her A$AP tat.
I don't know how comfortable you are, but you keep waving your hand around, and
I'm
I
just
saw
like-
the poster of the name crossed out on your finger, and then now I see it on your hand. I take it when you have a tattoo with an X on it, that it ended badly?
No, it didn't end. It's not that it ended badly. I mean, no relationship ends with a bouquet of roses, but it would be really weird, as I'm sure anybody who's unfortunately got their ex tattooed on them, don't do it. The only person I've ever dated is Playboi Carti, and I don't know anybody else, so don't ask me about them.
As we're about to learn in a sec, this would not be Iggy Azalea's last time dating a superstar rapper. But while at least she didn't have any kids with A$AP, back at this time, Iggy was honestly on the way to becoming a star in the game herself, not only being the first female rapper to make the XXL freshman list,
You know I'm merely who you kidding, go and tell your friends. Iggy is a big dog.
but as 2014 rolled around, so did Iggy's historic run. Led by what she describes her most personal song titled Work, about being 16 and alone in the middle of Miami. With the help of her major record contract with Def Jam in 2014, the stage was set for Iggy's breakthrough debut album. And breakthrough album is putting it lightly. Aside from the new classic's 4 Grammy nominations, thanks to its diamond-certified Fancy featuring a hook by Charlie XCX, Iggy Azalea would become only the 4th female rapper in history to go #1 on Billboard.
What is Iggy Azalea's most popular song? I think it's clear that it's Fancy because that record is Diamond, and so you can't really compete with the Diamond record, can you?
Iggy would actually go on to add yet another top 10 hit a week later with her feature next to Ariana Grande. So with Fancy at 1, Problem at 2, and then soon after Black Widow peaking as high as number 3, this woman was straight up dominating 2014. However, what goes up must come down. And what no one was aware of was that this would actually mark the peak of Iggy's career, because instead, just 1 year later, everything Iggy Azalea had built began crashing down. For casual radio fans, it probably felt like overnight, Iggy Azalea went from the hottest rising star to suddenly one of their favorite punching bags. After kicking off the year making her acting debut in the Furious 7 movie, when the moment arrived for Iggy's first musical release of 2015, it was a collaboration with pop icon Britney Spears.
You're doing a single with Britney?
I'm doing a single with Britney! I'm so excited!
However, what was clearly an attempt at her next Billboard hit instead turned into the opposite. Then, to escalate the situation much further, it's difficult to send a song off the charts without additional promo and TV performances, Iggy Azalea replied to a fan on Twitter about the collab. Unfortunately, I am just featured. Most fans took this as Iggy blaming Britney for why their song wasn't a commercial hit. But the next day, Britney herself appeared to jab back. Can't wait to get back to Vegas, so thankful I have shows for the rest of the year to look forward to. Hashtag you want a piece of me? What Britney Spears was referring to here was the fact that Iggy Azalea had cancelled her scheduled tour for 2015, the Great Escape Tour. Despite his planned 2-month stretch across 21 cities, this tour would never happen. And although Iggy tried to claim it was due to mental health reasons, in reality, if you've seen my previous video on why rappers cancel concerts so often, 99% of the time it's because of low ticket sales. But Iggy's fall from grace was only getting started. Taking things from bad to worse, in the summer of 2015 was when several concerning old social media posts by Iggy began to surface, including multiple since-deleted tweets about LGBTQ groups, different cultures other than hers, and unfortunately various negative posts about people of color from the years 2011 to 2012, which not cool for anyone, but especially for Iggy Azalea, someone who had already been dealing with controversy and accusations over her southern style.
You know what I mean? That Iggy Azalea shit is not better than any fucking black girl that's rapping today, you know? And when they give those awards out, because the Grammys are supposed to be like accolades for artistic excellence, you get what I mean? Iggy Azalea is not excellent.
Keith Urban is Australian, and a lot of Australian country musicians as well. Yeah, rap, sing in American country accents. So it happens in other styles of music and singing, like you said.
So if they were to say you're an imposter, your response?
I guess I am an imposter. I'm from Australia, right? So maybe I am. I don't know.
Nah, we don't do those.
Like you could imagine, these old posts coming back to light was a terrible blow to Iggy Azalea's reputation. And besides artists like Halsey calling her a, quote, moron, with a complete disregard for black culture, due to the mountain of deserved backlash, then came this response by Iggy. I'm truly disappointed that I have to share this news, but I will no longer be performing at the Pittsburgh Pride event. I'm a firm believer in equality, she said. Unfortunately, in the past, as a young person, I used words I should not have. The last thing I want is for something so carelessly to be interpreted as reflective of my character. I meant no harm and deeply regret ever uttering those words. Dropped from this Pittsburgh festival due to her past comments. Nevertheless, when she finally did get to take the stage in 2015, let's just say it was not any better.
I feel fucking hot. Tire marks. Finish line with fire marks. When the green light starts to runaway train. Master, she on the pants, got spit like a plaster. Raptor, battery, did like, don't like, dash, faster, motorbike faster. He gotta get a bitch, pass to the rapture. White bitch, go back and blow like a wind. Perhaps your rooftop in the wind. When I win, no, when I win, leg up like she ain't got hoes on call. Got hoes on call to come through, take a protocol. Just damage it, that's my protocol. These many Australians.
I watch this to get secondhand embarrassment so that I can feel humble afterwards, the top comment jokes. Yet, while others believe that this embarrassing freestyle attempt on stage was enough to never recover from, a few months later, Iggy Azalea's freestyling ability was exposed even worse here on Sway in the Morning.
Yo, Wonder, give me a beat, Wonder.
Oh, a beat?
Yeah.
Man, just give us a hot 16 if you can.
I cannot give you a hot 16 to this hood-ass beat.
You don't like that one?
No.
You know.
With her reputation crumbling more and more by the day, at this point there was only one thing left to do. Drop a new album. So that is exactly what Iggy Azalea did. Or at least tried to do. You see, in October of 2015, after revealing the name of her sophomore album called Digital Distortion, it was clear she was fully ready for a comeback in the mainstream.
And I just felt like I needed to take a step away and use that theme to kind of tell what my reality was in this album, instead of hoping that I could have the media tell it for me. I felt like I've got to take the power back and I'm going to do digital distortion and set the record straight about a couple of things.
Had an amazing 2014.
I
dude.
did, I know. I just need to turn this 2015 around. I will, though.
Hoping to turn the year around and get her career back in the right direction, her second album was set to be released in 2016, once again via Def Jam. But that was until the events which happened next. The events that would hammer the ultimate nail into Iggy Azalea's momentum. Unfortunately, although I love Nick and have tried to rebuild my trust in him, it's become apparent in the last few weeks that I am unable to. I generally wish Nick the best. It's never easy to part ways with the person you planned your entire future with, but futures can be rewritten. And as of today, mine is a blank page. As it turns out, the first reason behind Iggy's album delay was due to her drama with former fiancé and NBA meme legend Nick Young. Or more specifically, this classic video that leaked by his Laker teammate D'Angelo Russell.
The youngest. Yeah. How old was you? What you like? You was 30, she was 19? Hell no.
Caught on camera bragging about hooking up with another girl while engaged to Iggy. As for Nick Young's response though, the simple single tweet after the news. However, to make matters 100 times worse, not only did they hook up, but Nick Young had actually gotten this other girl pregnant during his time still engaged.
Okay, but then you got your child's mother, your first child's mother, pregnant.
Yeah.
And I guess Iggy didn't know until she saw it on E! News.
Yeah. That's because we was like off and on and off and on. She wasn't, home. She left me because the D-Lo thing.
You wanted to give up your career?
Like my whole life.
Were you feeling so?
Kinda, sometimes I did. Sometimes I would drive through the canyons to get to my horses and I'd be like, what if I just kept driving off the canyon? Sometimes I would feel like that.
Like it would almost all of us, this was destroying Iggy mentally. And this time she really did need a break. I needed a lot of time. I mean, you wake up one morning and your fiance is having a baby with someone else, you're going to need some time, right? I don't want to go and promote my album and get asked about my relationship that has just crumbled. Following this first delay, the next clue that something was up with her album's release behind the scenes came right here on Jimmy Fallon.
She's a Grammy-nominated artist who will release her new album, Digital Distortion, next month, performing her new single, Switch.
So I did a bunch of interviews on TV the day that my single dropped with Anita, and it seemed like all the reporters knew the date, June 30th. So I was sitting there thinking, yay, they finally got their shit together. And they're telling everybody a real date that we can look forward to. But then I went on Jimmy Fallon and I noticed him saying, Digital Distortion, later this month. Later this month. What does that mean? That can't be good. You've kind of backed away from having a real date.
Admitting that she was now confused when her own album was coming out, Steve Bartles says he doesn't want to release another single for my album, unfortunately. Iggy claimed 1 month later. So that's that. This guy she's referring to right here is the former CEO of Def Jam Records, who was obviously no longer seeing eye to eye with Iggy.
Keep this in mind. Without a big, flashy, popular single, because Iggy Azalea is very much a singles artist, to lead us into the release of this new album, this new record is essentially dead in the water. Iggy Azalea knows it, the label knows it, everybody in the music industry knows it.
Combined with their nearly completed album Digital Distortion being totally scrapped, including a song with the Lil Uzi Vert feature that would later leak. In 2017 though was when Iggy Azalea announced her departure from Def Jam, instead opting into a new deal with both Roc Nation and Island Records. However, besides the short EP with them, this partnership lasted even shorter, because by 2018 Iggy was already switching up her team again, or this time cutting her team off. I'm officially unsigned, she typed. Wild, you spent so long trying to get in a record deal, never thought I'd be so elated to be out of one. Now I'm free to release whatever kind of music I like, whenever I like. Making this risky move and going independent, under her own label called Bad Dream Records, at least she was aware of the dangers behind this decision.
So I was nervous to see without, a gigantic person with like endless amounts of money like Universal backing you, like how is that going to compare?
Going solo and ditching your powerful label can often bring an artist's career to a screeching stop. However, before we answer if she was able to beat the odds and bounce back, it's important to note this. Iggy Azalea was not navigating this new chapter entirely alone. Despite stating that she had accepted she would be forever, and despite their 6-year age gap, around this time in late 2018 was also when Iggy Azalea's new relationship began forming with fellow rapper Playboi Carti, who, as we can see from this old Tumblr post, has had a crush on her for a long time. But speaking of long time, fresh off of his own debut album, Die Lit, it wasn't long until Carti and Iggy fell in love.
How much?
Merry Christmas! Loser. You dork.
With racks still flowing in, enough to buy Carti a new Lambo for Christmas in 2018. Although this is nothing compared to the money that Iggy was about to rake in from her next controversial decision, this still begs the question, was Playboi Carti able to save Iggy Azalea's falling music career? Besides, in my opinion, her recent releases being pretty mid, when you consider the lack of label help with the fact that it had now been over 5 years since her last album, it made sense why Iggy's numbers were in the ditch. When the time was finally here for Iggy Azalea's sophomore album, it was renamed In My Defense. Debuting at only number 50 and seeing a 79% decrease in first week sales, this project was a major commercial miss, not to mention its poor reviews across the board. But if flopping on the charts wasn't bad enough, then came this Breakfast Club interview with her former collaborator and friend.
Somebody said, what in your career, the question was, what in your career do you think you still have to accomplish? I gotta introduce another female to the game that can undo the blunder of Iggy Azalea.
Why was she a blunder though?
Well, I mean, I really feel like she was meant to be great.
She was for a moment.
What happened was, this is just my opinion, and mind you, I didn't say this to really speak down on Shawty. Like, this is my truth.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, I feel like when she found out white people liked her and she didn't really need black people to like her anymore, she switched up, started acting different, made moves that I wasn't proud of.
When will this guy shut up? Iggy fired back at T.I.'s comments. Please move on and speak about artists that you are hopefully actually helping and stop trying to bring me up for relevance. I don't bring your ass up. No one is asking about you. Honestly, this entire exchange perfectly describes where Iggy Azalea's career had slipped. Because when you think about it, despite having finally released her album that she had spent years fighting for, almost nobody seemed interested in her actual music. And instead, the reason why Iggy was still constantly making headlines was for reasons outside of music. But if Iggy thought this was bad, 2020 would push her problem to a level she could no longer handle. By the start of this new decade, Iggy Azalea had already suffered through flopped singles, cancelled albums, and splits from multiple record labels, except the viral drama waiting for her this time was different. It was personal. You see, after moving into a house together with Playboi Carti in Atlanta, a series of certain events soon led to summer of 2020 when Iggy shared this. I have a son. I kept waiting for the right time to say something, but it feels like the more time passes, the more I realize I'm always going to feel anxious to share news this giant with the world. I want to keep his life private, but wanted to make it clear that he is not a secret, and I love him beyond words. To be more precise, Iggy Azalea's first and as of now only child is a son named Onyx, who is the father, none other than Jordan Carter, aka Playboi Carti.
Is my son Onyx. This is a picture of him on his 4th birthday. I love my son so much. He's my whole universe. Like, if I don't see him, just even between school and the afternoon, I just miss him so much. Moms would understand. He's my absolute most favorite thing in the whole entire world.
I mean, based on what you know about Iggy, why do you think Iggy had a baby with Playboi Carti? If you were to just guess, knowing her.
I feel like she been trying to find love for sure for a while, so I could see that.
Once I started talking to Iggy, I just cut off everybody, Carti told The Fader. It was over with. However, literally less than 4 months after their baby announcement, the pair was telling a wildly different story. You lost a real one, Iggy Azalea posted one night out of nowhere. People take loyalty for granted, and that's why I'd rather be alone. I'm raising my son alone, and I'm not in a relationship. Before then, I told them, shut up, my son crying, Carti shared on his own page. Which, although Iggy would try to claim that she talked with Carti, and this post apparently had nothing to do with her. Apparently. Before 2020 could even finish though, Iggy Azalea reached her final breaking point. And, on the biggest holiday of the year, let the shots rain down on her baby daddy. Considering that Onyx Carter was born in 2020, right in the peak of the COVID lockdown, as I'm sure you guys remember, hospitals were limiting guests to a minimum. Therefore, the only visitor who was approved by Iggy Azalea's side during labor was Playboi Carti. But, at least according to her story, despite even being a scheduled C-section birth, this man was instead in Philadelphia playing PS5 with Lil Uzi Vert.
While I was pregnant, this man didn't even come to see his son be born. He went to Philly to play the PlayStation with Little Uzi. He thought that was more important than seeing his son be born. And I had a scheduled C-section, by the way, because my son was so big that they were like, you can't have a natural birth. I'm not still with him, in case you're wondering. No, I'm not still with him. They thought my son wasn't his son, his fans, because he wasn't there the weekend that he was born. Yeah, I know, because he isn't shit. Not because he's not his son. Just because you wanted to play the PlayStation, though. Who misses their son's first their first son being born. It's COVID. He's the only person you can only pick one person during COVID when you're having a baby to be on your like approved list. Of course, I picked my son's father to come and be there, but he was busy apparently.
However, this was only a few seconds from Iggy's 30-minute long rant on Instagram Live. And before we break down the rest, first, only hours earlier on this same Christmas day of 2020, also the day when Playboi Carti finally released Whole Lotta Red. On the other hand, remember, this was Onyx's first Christmas. Too bad you got an album out, but can't even come to Christmas with your own son. Iggy continued her rant on Twitter. I would never decide to do something of my own free will that meant missing a milestone moment with my son. And if you do, you are trash. Like this clip confirms, Playboi Carti spent his Christmas rolling out his album in Atlanta rather than at home with his newborn. However, it's these next tweets that add a whole new layer. Imagine not flying out your family on Christmas, but you have the girl you cheated on my entire pregnancy at your album party. And then magically me and my son can't come for Christmas anymore? Trash. A child he asked for, by the way. I was gonna keep it cute and let you live, but nah, not after I just peeped that trifling shit. This man had a whole family vacation planned 48 hours ago, and I hope this message gets to you, girl. Although you hid in a whole closet from a housekeeper, so it's not like you have any dignity. And I've not said anything for the longest time because I know the net won't side with me, and that I'm hated. But Christmas? And this proud of you on her stories? Rightfully furious at Playboi Carti for being a deadbeat father, when it came to which female specifically he was seeing, well, on Christmas nights, after Santa had dropped off his presents, Iggy Azalea would then take to Instagram Live to get everything off her chest.
Brandy is Jordan's side chick who he's been f***ing while I was pregnant. She claims she didn't know anything and she would never do anything trifling. Let's talk. Started f***ing you in an Airbnb that he had rented out as a studio while I was pregnant since he couldn't play loud music in our apartment, but had you in there getting smashed the whole time. Now, bear in mind, while my housekeeper comes to clean this Airbnb for these motherfuckers, she cleans every single room, no one's in there, leaves, says goodnight, forgets her vacuum, comes back in, and who's sitting on the couch looking like a ghost? Brandy. You were sitting in there. You were. You, girl. You don't talk to Brandy. That's what you said to me 2 days ago. F that she ain't shit. She was just a bitch you were f***ing because I wasn't talking to you and you were lonely and bored. That's what it is, right? That's what you just said 48 hours ago. Let's talk, because I told you so many times that this was what was going to happen if y'all kept on with your bullshit. I really tried to spare you. I posted some of the video on my Twitter, and I'll post the whole thing if anyone want to keep going with it, if she want to keep lying. Why would you leave in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. saying that you're sorry, and collect all your shit and walk out of this man's house without your shoes on if you thought that you were supposed to be there?
I've gone through worse. I hate that people revolve their lives around posting on social media. Like, if you see something happening, somebody's going to take out their phone, they're going to record it.
According to Iggy Azalea's side of the story, Carti had been cheating on her with this girl named Brandy, who, as we now know, Brandy would be the one to go on to give birth to Carti's next child, a daughter named Eve, like he raps on his new album.
I was 24 when I had Lil Onyx, 27 when I had Eve.
He's working on his album, but he's going to be there and be a dad. And it's about to drop. It's about to drop 100 million times. You feel bad for his fans. Bitch, feel bad for me. I told him, this really what you're going to do. You're going to not be there for Christmas for your son. That's it. You're about to leave us stranded in LA with not shit. I'm just pissed the f*** off and I'm tired of it. I've been so nice, like, behind the scenes. He's never going to get his shit together. The only thing that he cares about is what the world thinks of him, because he's a narcissist. So I want the world to know the way you really are. And I know you're looking at all your tweets because your album dropped. Look at this shit and maybe be accountable.
Whether Carti actually heard any of Iggy's rants or not was unclear. But, like one fan puts it, say whatever you want, but Carti as a father is a total piece of shit. The only person who can make me smile with teeth every day, read this next caption by Iggy, sharing Christmas Day photos of her and Onyx. However, in an attempt to save some PR, Playboi Carti would then respond with this video of him and his son in the studio, plus this pic, which clearly upset his ex. Even though Onyx was a planned baby that we both wanted, on some weirdo shit, he has still refused to sign his birth certificate. He is 9 months old, won't even give his son he claims to care so much about his own last name. Sharing proof here of Onyx's birth certificate, imagine how trash you are to do this to your firstborn son. Before then, leaking these hilarious text messages between the former couple. I love you. You talking to other people, be honest. As well as the classic, I miss rubbing on your butt. Going on to even claim that Carti will marry Iggy one day. 2 days after Christmas, the tension appeared to calm down. At least for a moment. A brief moment. I've spoken to my baby dad, and as f***ed up as this shit's been, it was for the best because now shit's aired out and gonna change for the better with my son. That's all I wanted. Let the man enjoy the rest of his album week. No more chapters to this story. There's no bomb, I'm done talking about it. Playboi Carti indeed enjoyed the rest of his album week, debuting at number 1. However, despite texting that he wanted to marry her one day, as it stands today in 2026, Carti is just a small blimp in his son's life.
Oh, someone's saying, tell Playboi Carti to drop. I don't speak to him, my love. We haven't heard from that man in over like 6 months. We don't know where he is. I don't have no idea, have no association. You have to tell somebody that speaks to wherever he is. We don't know or care.
Telling People magazine that, quote, I am very much a single mother. With Playboi Carti now out of the picture though, what about Iggy Azalea's own music career? After taking a short break to focus on her son, in 2021 Iggy returned right back in the studio. This time though with significantly far worse results. Titled The End of an Era, in 2021 Iggy dropped her 3rd album, but it failed to even crack the Hot 100 at all. And along with hitting at this and the title,
whatever it is that comes with it is not something that I find very enjoyable, and I'm just like, what's the functionality, or where is the joy in this for me? You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to make music. Let's just be real. Like, I'm at a point in my life where it's like, I don't have to do that.
End of an Era is so special to me because after I drop my album, I'm going to take a few years to focus on other creative projects and things I'm feeling passionate about beyond music. I'm excited for you guys to see different sides to me in the future. Before she meant this quite literally and joined OF, it's important to note that artists, and especially rappers, claiming that they're retiring is honestly the oldest lie in the book. From Lil Uzi Vert, Nicki Minaj, or Jay-Z, to name a few. But here for Iggy Azalea, was she actually retiring? 4 years ago in 2022, news broke that Iggy Azalea was selling the rights of her music catalog to Domain Capital Group in a reported deal worth 8 figures, so at the minimum $10 million. I sold a portion of my catalog to who I wanted, for an amount that means I don't have to work another day in my life, Iggy announced after the sale. I love y'all, but the master's conversation is a little beyond most of your understanding of business. In my opinion, it's really not that confusing. And like she would simplify it down in her next tweet, it means that songs that I sold to a company, they now own them. In exchange, they paid me what they would have earned in my lifetime, but upfront in one lump sum. Don't get me wrong, Iggy secured an absolute bag here for her hit songs. Yet, regardless of saying she never has to work another day in her life, fast forward 1 year later and this was already a lie. A year ago, I was willing to walk away from music because I was tired of the negative energy it attracted. But what I've learned is that even when I'm minding my business, y'all be negative and nosy, so if I can't have peace, neither can you. I'm coming back, Iggy Azalea declared in 2022. Cry about it. But as for the executive producer of Iggy's supposed 4th album,
I didn't realize you were behind like the new Iggy comeback, the new album. You're producing it, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna be executive producing it. We've been working on it.
Following Tory's legal situation with Megan Thee Stallion, Iggy would soon end their working relationship. But rather than releasing her new album, in 2023, Iggy Azalea instead gave a handful of her fans the only thing left they'd been waiting for, her OF account. With plans to, quote, release exclusive uncensored photos, videos, and music on there. Basically, Iggy wanted to roll out her 4th album hotter than ever via OF, and in the process, charging fans a monthly subscription of $25.
Iggy reportedly made a jaw-dropping amount of money in less than a year on OnlyFans.
I was the top for that year. I barely, honestly,
Is the number accurate?
I didn't have to do
48
months.
million?
Well, I don't really like to talk.
Okay.
It's not 48 million.
Okay.
That's not the exact number, but it's a life-changing number. It was funny because when I did do the only thing, everyone was like, she must be doing so bad, down bad. And I was like, definitely not down, definitely not doing bad.
For someone who only 2 years prior had been so publicly vocal about never joining the adult platform, like she'd never ever join, clearly in the end, Iggy was not able to resist such an insane paycheck. But for her first official single though, post-retirement, in 2023, Iggy Azalea returned with a new track, Money Come, a very fitting name for how her bank account must have been looking. However, as of this video, Money Come remains Iggy Azalea's last musical release to date. So what happened? This is gonna be long, Iggy typed to her fans a year later in 2024. I've always been someone who finds my joy in being creative and seeing my ideas come to life, but in truth, what I've known for a long time is that I feel more passionately about design than I do about songwriting. That's why I want to let you know that I'm not going to finish my album. I know for some this probably makes you feel a little deflated, and I'm sorry to let you down, but it's more important I don't let myself down. I hope you'll understand. Confirming once more here that she is indeed retired, saying the music industry is too politically toxic now for her want to be in it. A total of 12 years since her debut album, Iggy Azalea has firmly slammed the door shut on her music career. Thus, with that said though, what does Iggy do now?
What does Iggy Azalea do now? A bit of this and a bit of that. I think I just do chaos and mischief in general. That's what I've done my whole life, really. Different subcategories of naughtiness is what I do. Okay. Woo! Next. Thank you.
Totally dodging this question, the answer is after tossing her 4th album in the trash, Iggy Azalea has instead been focusing on her other creative passions outside of music. Whether that be this perfume she launched, her cell phone provider business called Unreal Mobile,
Iggy's Unreal Mobile Hotline.
What's up, bestie?
Oh shit, what's up, mermaid? Unreal Mobile.
For unreal creatures.
a businesswoman since day one, this has brought with it an important lesson. Not all of Iggy's new businesses were going to be as easy as OF, nor as successful. In fact, after even trying to launch her own cryptocurrency meme coin called Mother.
Yeah, tell me about the Mother coin and what are you doing in the space?
It seemed to me that, especially with meme tokens, they were central to virality, and that really interests me, obviously.
I think that's something you're pretty good at.
Yeah, I think I have been pretty successful at it.
Very recently, back in May, Iggy Azalea was just hit with a federal class action lawsuit over this same Mother token, which, as crazy as it is to say, was literally down 99.5% from its peak. However, in whatever spare time she has left, no longer rapping, like you guys have probably seen, Iggy Azalea has replaced music with streaming, and has formed quite the close friendship with this kick streamer named Neon.
Do you mind if I smell your tuna? This
That sounds weird.
I'm sorry, yeah, oh my god, I'm talking about this tuna.
It doesn't smell great.
Dude, dating Iggy Azalea?
I have never dated Iggy.
Stop.
That's my friend, business partner.
Every time I see you guys, you look pretty.
Yeah. No, listen, stop. If Iggy came up to you and said, Neon, Neon, I want to start a family with you.
Yeah.
She wouldn't say that, bro. I ain't gonna lie, I feel like you be playing with my boy though a little bit. Who? Carti. Why do you think that? You know what I'm talking about. No, it's not like that. It's all love. Me and Iggy are just friends. Me and Iggy are friends.
Despite many viewers theorizing that the relationship may be a little more personal, both insist that they're just friends. Well, and business partners, of course, since, like we covered, we already know how much Iggy is about her cash.
This guy's with Iggy Azalea. She helped you, you helped her, but...
Iggy made me the most money I've ever made in my life. I put that on my life.
Really?
Oh God, I swear to God. She, having conversations with her off stream, just learning the way her mind moves, the business-minded woman she is, it's insane, bro. She's so smart.
At the end of the day, the music industry moves incredibly fast, and following years of controversy, canceled albums, and public drama, Iggy Azalea's rap career crumbled in front of her eyes. However, at currently age 36, it's not like Iggy will be going broke anytime soon.
Do you miss the music at all?
Yeah, of course there are parts of music that I miss. I don't want to be a slave to that cycle. It's one thing to sacrifice those things when it's just you, but I would also be signing my son up to sacrifice those things.